Hi there, everybody, and welcome to another live stream mediumship clinic with me, Martin Twycross. Another opportunity for you to bring any questions you have on mediumship, development, spiritualism, and any related topic to me, and I will do my best to answer them in the session. If you want to join in and ask a question, you will need to be logged in to a Google account to be able to ask questions. The way it works is I go through the questions one at a time, and we answer them in the order they come in. If you would like to make a donation through Super Chat, which is your little $ at the bottom of the chat box, if you're logged in, then I will prioritize your question as soon as I finish the question I'm working on. And I'm always very grateful for anyone who makes donations to the channel. That's always much appreciated. So if you have any questions, feel free to start loading them. Let me know if you can hear me okay, because the way technology is, I never really know unless you type in the chat box. So welcome to Mike, welcome to Tyrone, good to see you. If anybody else has joined, then say hi in the chat. So I can see there's already a few questions building up in the chat that we can start off with. As always, remember that you can support the channel by checking out my website, check out the courses, the videos, the study program that I offer. So welcome to Jan and to Melba. Lovely to see you. And more questions still. Wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to make a start with all these questions because I can see they're building up. So plenty to get stuck into today. So the first question from Mike: I'm drawn to learn mediumship, but not necessarily keen on getting up on a platform or doing paid readings. Are there any other benefits and hidden reasons for honing one's mediumship abilities? So let's take a step back. Most people I know who set out don't actually set out with the intention of being a platform medium or a professional medium doing paid sittings. And I'll tell you why. The main reason why is not everybody will be able to get there. It's a simple fact. Only a subset of those people who develop mediumship will have the ability or gift to a degree where you can actually work platform, or you can become a professional medium charging for readings. So in development classes, development circles, the vast majority of people are not there to become a medium at the end of it. That's the important point to recognize. So why do people start development? Because the clue is in the name. It's about developing yourself spiritually. It's about you understanding more about your true spiritual nature. Can everybody do mediumship? I believe everyone can do it to some degree. Normally, most people can be trained to get a spirit link to bring evidence and a message for somebody. But some may not be, it may not be strong enough to go to the next level. That's the important part to recognize. But mediumship has the potential to change lives, remember. So just you understanding the nature of the spirit world through developing mediumship will potentially change you as well. Having said that, I know a lot of people who go on to develop mediumship and do all the mechanics of mediumship, and it doesn't change them spiritually at all. I do offer a course actually on spiritual self-development, one of the courses I offer. So I've just popped it on the screen there. I hope, anyway. I hope it's coming on the screen. Yeah, I should have done. And it's one of the courses I offer, 4 classes, and all my courses, they go into a great deal of detail. So that is one of them. And for me, developing ourselves spiritually is perhaps the most important reason for all spiritual work, whether it's mediumship, whether it's doing inspired speaking, doing inspirational speaking, inspirational writing, etc. Whatever, healing, all of it, it's about developing the spiritual qualities within. So I would say if you feel drawn to it, check it out. You know, I know some people will say, oh, well, I'd quite like to be a medium, and I'd quite like to do this, and I'd quite like to do that. And if you haven't got the commitment to it, it will be hard to do it. That's the key thing to recognize. If you've not got that commitment, it really will be a bit of a battle to get there. But if you're willing to commit the time, the effort, and go with the flow and enjoy the journey, never seek to focus upon the destination. In many things, people say, you know, you should look at the destination and that should be your goal before you set out. But in development with mediumship and your psychic awareness, I would say just enjoy the journey. It's not about arriving. It's not about reaching any lofty height. Just go with the flow. And that, I say, would be the best approach to developing. You know, Like a lot of things, you can get so far with it and maybe your interest wanes, or maybe you'll decide that you've got as far with it as you like. But for most people who are committed to it, it becomes part of your life. It's certainly a part of my life anyway. I couldn't be without it. Couldn't be without all my spiritual work, whether that's mediumship on platform or readings, or whether that's healing, or whether that's trance and inspiration. I love all of it. And for me, I give equal weight to all of it. So I hope that that's answered the questions. And I can see we've got a few more join us. So welcome to Nunya, D, Omar, Mom Wise. Lovely to see you all. So next question. If someone successfully experienced the process of channeling, does that lend itself to learning mediumship? And if so, what might be the differences? Now, I'm in the UK. I have to put that first. And channeling in the UK is not a popular thing. Channeling is a very much a US thing. And so my experience of channeling is somewhat limited. It's somewhat limited to things like YouTube and what I've seen there. I have seen some people who do channeling in person, like Esther Hicks, for example. But generally, what I see as channeling is what I would call more of a form of inspirational speaking, where you're inspired and influenced by the spirit world, or in some cases, inspired and influenced by your own soul, or in some cases, inspired and influenced by your own imagination. And in many instances, I don't actually believe there's a great deal there to it. Whenever we work with spirit, we should always be able to achieve more than we can in our normal state. If I can talk pretty well in my normal state, when I'm working with inspirational speaking from the spirit world, it should be way, way better than what I'm capable of myself. Way better than what normal Martin can achieve. That's what we're looking for. Same with all spirit work. All of it, we should be going up a level. That's the key factor. That's, if you like, the acid test of mediumship. So, if you can do inspirational speaking with the spirit world, does that lend itself to mediumship? Yes and no. Yes, if it's from spirit, then you've got a connection to spirit, and that connection, if you like, will help you with mediumship. But the mechanism, the mechanics of doing channeling is very different from the mechanics of doing mediumship. When you're doing mediumship, you go to the spirit world, you connect to the spirit world, you have to hold yourself there, you've got to build power to get yourself there, you've got to learn to do the connection to the spirit world. When we're doing inspirational speaking or trance, deeper inspiration, and I will put channeling in the mix with that as well, what's happening is you're going into a passive state, you're allowing your own guides and helpers to blend more closely with you. Now, I don't know if I actually have a... Yeah, I do. Here we go. Here's one I prepared earlier. So this little slide here, we've got increasing vibration up the side here. This dotted line across, if you like, is the spirit realm. At the bottom here, we have the earth. We have where the medium is. With evidential mediumship, the medium has to connect all the way to the spirit realm and stay there and connect with the spirit communicator. When we're doing inspiration, it's more of a halfway house. The guides move close to meet us halfway. And I'd say that would be the same with channeling as well. And then when we're doing trance, mainly the guides come most of the way to us. We just make ourselves in a receptive state to allow it to take place. We seek to move ourselves to the altered state where it takes place, but we let the guides do the vast majority of the work. So the problem we have is because it's a different mechanism, because in inspiration, we allow spirit to come to us. Whereas with mediumship, we've got to go to the spirit world because the mechanism is, if you will, a different mechanism. If you try and do mediumship from the point of doing inspirational speaking, it won't work. Similarly, you can't do it from the same place of doing healing as well. I'm a healer, but again, the mechanics of healing is totally different to the mechanics of mediumship. So if you do want to learn more about the different mechanics, remember I've got a whole bunch of courses, study program, videos. So I've got 24 videos, all available on my website. On the special topics, you'll see there quite a few of those cover trance, healing, inspiration, trance healing, trance mediumship, etc. So a lot of that is covered there. I also have a study program where the special module of the study program covers healing, inspiration, and trance as well. And of course, I offer a bunch of courses, but there's not one on trance or inspiration yet. But watch this space. Hopefully, we'll be adding those soon as well. So hopefully that helps answer the question. Yes, it will help to some degree, but if it's all your imagination, there will be no help whatsoever. I have had people come to circles, courses, classes with me, and they tell me they do inspirational speaking or channeling, and I say, great. And then we try and do mediumship, and they can't do mediumship at all. So in some instances, and especially then I get them to do a little bit of their inspiration. And to be honest, it's mainly their own mind. There's not actually a spirit blend there. There's not a spirit presence. And it's very hard to tell people, I'm really sorry, but you're not actually working with spirit. It's a very hard thing to do. It will burst someone's bubble. It's not an easy thing to do, but ultimately we have to be honest. We do have to be honest. I went to many courses where the tutors, Arthur Findlay College tutors, would just be straight and tell it straight. And I have the same approach. I tell it straight because I don't think there's any point someone wasting their time thinking it's real when it's not. But of course, there's a nice way of saying it. Absolutely. So a few more have joined us. So welcome, Debs, Shelley. Lovely to see you as well. So next question. Let me move on to the next question. As a general rule, is there a substantial boost to one's experiences attending an Arthur Findlay College session at Stansted Hall, learning the mediumship process? So in other words, if we go to the Arthur Findlay College, will it make a huge boost to our mediumship? Now, I've been to the Arthur Findlay College as a student probably about 20 times, and I obviously have worked there as a tutor as well. And a lot of it will really depend on where you are in your development, the degree of natural ability you have, and how easy or difficult that is to unfold, and also how you work in that environment. I know some people who leap forward a great deal in a week, and others who pretty much go away just a little bit further than where they arrived. I'd say in general, if you go as a beginner, don't expect huge leaps. But equally, if that's the only opportunity you get for development, then yeah, it's going to be a huge leap compared to any circles you're in. If you're in circles regularly, then I would say it's not going to be a big leap. What's going to happen is you're going to get some different teaching. You're going to get someone else's view on where you are with your mediumship, and that's helpful as well. But for me, it's all progressive. You shouldn't expect one course to ever take you a great deal. Having said that, quite a number of people have written testimonials to me where they said that they've attended some of my online courses, these ones here that I did, or have attended the study program, or purchased a whole bunch of videos from my videos. And that's given them a great understanding in mediumship that they never got from any circles or courses. Because in circles or courses, the focus is practice, practice, practice. Very rarely do you get taught the theoretical foundations of mediumship. Whereas that for me is a specialism. I love to teach that the most. Hence all the different products I offer, hence doing these Q&As. I love the theory of mediumship. That's my passion. So once you've understood the theory, then a lot of the practice can click into place. But it depends on the tutor. Again, a great deal of it depends on the tutor and whether that you're a good fit with their teaching style and whether what they say resonates with you. I know some people who come to circles, classes, courses with me who've been to other tutors who teach in a totally different way. And they come and they say to me, I don't resonate with your teaching. And I say, that's absolutely great. No problem at all. And sometimes if someone's been embedded in somebody else's teaching practice for a long time, it can be very hard to teach them if some of the things they're taught are so very different. If people are taught that they're not allowed to work with clairsentience, it's very hard for me to teach them to work with clairsentience if they have it in their mind that they're not allowed to do that. If they have it in their mind they've got to work in the dark and I ask them to work in the light, that's going to be a battle. All these different things will create problems. Absolutely. So I hope that that's answered your question, Mike. I would say if you do go to the college, go there just to experience it. It's a wonderful place. You get isolated from the real world and you go into a different world, which is quite magical. It's a lovely experience to have. You're with like-minded people. The food's great. The accommodation's good. The tutors are great. You know, it's a nice experience to have, but just don't expect a massive leap. Expect that you will progress during the week. But if you go in there not expecting something huge, you won't be disappointed. And if you do have a huge leap, you'll be particularly happy, won't you? That's the key thing, isn't it? So hopefully that makes sense. So who else has joined us? Welcome to Denise, to Carol. Right, let me keep going to the question. So the way it works is if you put your question in the chat box, I'll work through them sequentially in order. If you would like to make a small donation through Super Chat, which is the little $sign at the bottom of the chat box if you're logged in, then I will answer your question next. I prioritize those questions where there is a donation. So if you would like to get your question answered and you're in a hurry, that is one way you can do it. Or otherwise, we just work through them one at a time. And if you would like to donate to support the channel, you can do that through Super Chat, through Super Thanks, which is a new feature that's been added on YouTube relatively recently. And you can also donate through PayPal. And there is a PayPal me link at the very top of the chat box pinned if you want to do that as well. All donations obviously gratefully received, but I do this as a public service, if you will. But again, if you'd like to buy me a coffee, that's greatly appreciated. Okay, next question. Tyrone, hi, Matt. I'm good, thank you. Are there any exercises you recommend for clairaudience? It seems to be impossible to find information online. Yep, absolutely. Not easy to teach people to do clairaudience. And in my experience, when I look at the progression of the majority of people start with clairvoyance, and then they transition to a mix of clairvoyance and clairsentience, and then clairknowing comes in, and the last one to develop, if it develops at all, is clairaudience. Now, I've been doing mediumship now for a long time. I've been on working platform now for 20 years. My clairaudience is still very limited. I don't have a great deal of clairaudience. Now, you may say, well, why is that? And quite simply, it's probably the way my mind works. I do get something called clairknowing much more often, where I just know, but I don't ever hear it in my head. So when people say clairaudience, are you hearing it externally in your ears? No, generally not. Occasionally it can happen like that, but mostly not. Mostly you're hearing it in your head. And is it somebody else's voice? Most people say no, it's more like your own voice, as if you're talking to yourself. But occasionally you can hear if you like, a different voice to your own, but majority of the time it's like words that appear in your head. So it's sometimes very hard to separate that out from clairknowing, whereas it's just a knowing you know in your head. Sometimes I'll have a name appear in my head. The name John is just there so strongly. Did I hear it? Not really. Was it spoken in my mind? Perhaps. But it's just a strong knowing. John. And sometimes I'll see it written out. I'll see the name written, which is, well, obviously that's clairvoyance, you see. But yeah, sometimes I start getting the letters. I'll see the letters, M-A-R-G. So is this a Margaret or a Marjorie? Again, that is clairvoyance. So the important thing to recognize is, from what I've watched of mediums, I don't know many mediums at all who have very strong clairaudience. Important to recognize that, because people talk about clairaudience as if it's a very common gift, and in my experience, it's not. People say to me, oh, I'm really strongly clairaudient. And I watch them work and I'll say, I'm really sorry you're not. Because you can't say, I've got a man here and he's about 55. No, if you're hearing it clairaudiently, he'll tell you, I was 55. And when things are wrong that would have been spoken, you'll know. So clairaudience is devastatingly accurate. But let me just show you something else as well, which is what I teach. This one here. So basically, this is a thought coming from the spirit world into the mind of the medium. Within NLP, we talk about people being visual people, auditory people, or kinesthetic tactile people. And what that means is most people have a specific modality which dominates. The majority of people are actually visual or tactile or a mix of both, but very few are auditory. And this is, again, what ties in with my understanding of clairaudience. So if you're visual, you're mainly seeing images, clairvoyance. If you're auditory, you're mainly seeing, you're mainly getting information as clairaudience, sounds or words. And if you're kinesthetic, tactile, you're mainly getting clairsentience. So I've done tests. There's various surveys online you can do to find your NLP modality or representational system. And I'm a mix of visual and kinesthetic. And when I do mediumship, that's about right. I work mainly with clairaudience and clairsentience. So, but the bottom one, I didn't quite talk about that, but if the thought comes through and received as it is, that is clairknowing. claircognizance. That is clair-knowing. And I get that quite a lot, where it just comes into my head and I know it. And I can't really work out if I saw it, felt it, heard it. Doesn't matter. So anyway, so that gives you some understanding of how rare it is to have strong clairaudience. So a lot of people, they're auditory and we get clairaudience, but what I call it is a subjective clairaudience. It's not truly hearing spirit. It's like your mind wants to work. And what happens is your mind creates words from what you're receiving from the spirit world. Hence, there's a degree of inaccuracy with it, if that makes sense. So I'm hoping that will make sense to you. So what kind of exercises can you do? And again, people say to me, can you give me an exercise? And I'm like, well, a lot of this is where you are in the process of development and unfoldment. And a lot of it just unfolds naturally. At the right time, if it's meant to be a part of your journey, it will unfold there. But remember, if your representational systems, your modalities, you don't have a strong auditory component, it can be hard to develop. That's an important part to recognize as well. Because I have, as I say, I don't really have much in the way of clairaudience at all. And does it hinder my mediumship? Not really. Now, I see mediums who teach different ways. Some people say, imagine yourself with massive ears. Now, whether that really works or not, I don't know. Other people say, imagine yourself focusing on the throat chakra and that will enhance your clairaudience. Well, I've tried that, didn't work for me. So your mileage may vary. Give it a go. You've got nothing to lose, have you? You know, the ones that make more sense to me is to become more aware of sound. Become more aware of the sounds. Really tune in to the energy of sounds. Whether that's names, spoken word, or the energy of sounds and places. Like if you're in a busy railway station, the energy of the sound. If you're by the sea, the energy of the sound. That makes a lot of sense to me, to understand the energy of sounds. Also, talk to yourself in your head and see how it feels. To try and see if you can see when spirit is working with you, if it's different. And the way we train people to develop any of the clairs is to isolate them, to try and focus on them. You know, one exercise we'll do is we'll work a couple of minutes on clairvoyance, a couple of minutes on clairsentience, and then a couple of minutes on clairaudience, clair-knowing, and see what we can get. And you may find no problem when you're working with clairvoyance, it's flowing. No problem with clairsentience, it's flowing. When we get to clairaudience, clair-knowing, nothing's happening, you can't get any information, and that's fine, but you're giving it a shot. You're trying to work in isolation with it. So that's a mechanism you can use. So those are some examples of things you can do. But if you said to me, you know, can you teach somebody on a course to do exercises to make them clairaudient? I would say probably not, no. It may give you a little bit here and there, but you've got to be at the right stage of development for that to truly unfold. So I hope that helps, Tyrone. So Melba, thank you very much for your super chat donation. It is much appreciated. I think I saw a question from you, so let me just have a skim through. Yeah. So your question, is there any difference between just hearing spirit to them versus automatic writing? Now, bring it back to what I've just said about clairaudience. I don't hear spirit. Most people I know do not hear spirit. And the ones who do, some people, I must say, some mediums work platform and pretend they're having a conversation with spirit. And if I'm honest, that is just a part of a performance thing. The reality is not. It's like, you know, I could stand there and say, okay, tell me what you look like. Okay, I'm seeing them looking like, you know, it can look like a conversation if I present it as a conversation. But the reality is it's not. I'm receiving it as feelings, images, thoughts. But some mediums present it in that way that they're saying to me, but they're not. So it's important to recognize that. As I say, very few mediums that I see have got true clairaudience working strongly. So the thing is, we need to look at automatic writing as well, because automatic writing is an extension of inspirational writing. So when we do inspiration, in this very simplest form, we can be inspired with an idea, or we can be inspired with a word, or we can be inspired with a thought. As we deepen and develop inspirational speaking or inspirational writing, it goes from being a thought, a word, or an idea to being a series of thoughts, words, and ideas. that we then have to clothe ourselves in words, or clothe in words when we speak, or words when we write. The next stage is where we get a flow of information, which is a good flow, which either we write or speak. And then the next stage after that is where you get a flow of information, but you're not in control of what the words are. The words are coming through you. And that's what we start to call automatic writing. And mainly because your conscious mind is not aware of what you're getting. You can get the words through speaking and speak them out, and you're not aware of what you're saying until they're coming out your mouth and you're going, wow, that's interesting. Or if you're writing, you're not really aware of what you're writing until you read it back. And that's why people call it automatic writing. But some people I know are pedantic about what automatic writing is and say automatic writing is actually where spirit is controlling the hand and you have no control over it. But that's a form of physical mediumship. But most normal people would consider automatic writing where you're writing with no real conscious awareness thereof. And most of the books that are written in automatic writing are written in that way. So that is what I call a very much a passive inspirational process. It's a passive process whereby we are seeking we're seeking to do nothing really other than be inspired, which is kind of odd. When you do mediumship, we're seeking to connect the spirit world, we're seeking to engage, we're seeking to get information, we're then seeking to give it. When we're doing inspiration, it's just spoken through us. So, but if the difference between speaking versus writing, there's not a great deal of difference other than one is writing down and the other one is speaking. The process is exactly the same, if that makes sense to you. So I'm hoping that that's helping to answer your question, but let me know if it's not. So I'm hoping that that's covered it off. But certainly there's a huge difference between doing mediumship, evidential mediumship, and inspiration, in that they are, again, what I said at the beginning, two totally separate, different processes. And the mechanics of one does not apply to the mechanics of the other. Same as the mechanics of healing cannot be applied to mediumship. You've got to learn the mechanics of each one. Lovely. Okay, next question. So if you are enjoying it, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you're watching this on the replay, welcome to you. And again, do hit the like button. Do leave me a comment. And also remember that you can support the channel by checking out my website, my courses, my study program, my videos, audios, all of the above. Okay, next question. Where are we? Jan, I sound great. Thank you for that. I forgot to say that. Nunya, do I have practice circles? I don't at the moment, no. But at some point in the future, I will be offering some practice sessions. They're probably going to be pitched more at intermediate to advanced levels, though, because that's really my passion for teaching. I'm not a beginner's teacher, if I'm honest. I can teach beginners. I have taught many beginner circles, many awareness circles, development circles. But really, the most benefit you get from me is if you're intermediate to advanced, where I love getting into how you work and the mechanics of it and the nitty gritty of it and helping out there. That for me is my passion when I will come to teaching as well. So later in the year, I'm hoping to bring in some either progressive courses with practice in it. Bit of teaching, bit of practice. So it's kind of themed courses where we may look at a theme of something and then we'll do exercises that tie in with it to help develop it. Just like what I'm saying with working with the clairs. What I could do in classes is if we had a session of 4 classes looking at the clairs, we could do all these different exercises I talk about. We can actually do that. You can go away, pair up, work and do that. So that's one way of doing it. So that will be coming. Okay, Melba is classes rock. Thank you, Melba. That's very kind. Tyrone, I watched all of Gordon Higginson's videos on YouTube. Thank you for making those available. You're more than welcome. Are there any other mediums in the past who have material out there to watch and listen to? Leslie Flint, there's a great website, the Leslie Flint Educational Trust, that's got huge volumes of Leslie Flint material there. A lot of the independent voice recordings of Leslie Flint. There are loads of them. I highly recommend you check out that. There is a Facebook page for it as well. So yeah, I recommend that. There's a whole bunch of other things that people have posted on YouTube. There's Doris Stokes working. There's stuff of all sorts of people, really. But it's not so easy to find unless there's a devoted channel to it. So you kind of have to go looking for it, if that makes sense. You know, there's some wonderful Coral Polge art things. And there's one of the videos I put on the channel, which is Coral Polge working with Gordon. And that's interesting to see as well. So hopefully, yeah, check it out, see what you can find. I wish there was a way of pulling more of it together, but I don't know how that would work. Jan, can spiritual healing be self-taught if you have a good connection with spirit, with mediumship? Well, everybody is capable of doing healing. Absolutely. Do you need to be taught how to do healing, or can you just do it? A lot of people can just do it. But one of the reasons I would recommend you do have some formal training in healing is that you need to work to a certain standard. You can get away with a lot of problems if you do not. You need to know where to place your hands. You need to know inappropriate areas versus appropriate areas. You need to understand what's appropriate within a healing session, what's not. Most organizations have people work to a code of conduct. The more you understand about how to do it, the more you understand the mechanics, the easier it is to do. So as I mentioned earlier, I do have a couple of videos. The special topic 2, spiritual healing, and the extension of that is special topic 8, which is trance healing. But trance healing is kind of a niche area of healing that takes a long time to develop, same as trance mediumship takes a long time to develop from inspiration. So if you're interested in healing, you can check those out. They are also part of the module, the special module of the study program on healing, inspiration, and trance. So yeah, I recommend those to get a good basis of how it works. But really, you know, I know a lot of people who've been doing healing for many years, just naturally understand it, make a link with spirit, let the energy flow. That's the simple part of it. And it works well for them without any formal training. But then if they want to go and work within an organization, within an SNU church, or they want to go and work for the Harry Oders Healing Center or anywhere else, any other organization, they will expect you to work to a standard, a code of conduct, and they will have their own training schemes. And I do recommend everyone at least avails themselves of some teaching on spiritual healing, because there are so many people who do so many inappropriate things or can cause so much harm with spiritual healing. You know, I've seen healers, not necessarily spiritual healers, place their hands upon a woman's anatomy, parts of their anatomy they should not. That is completely and utterly wrong. And you think to yourself, you should be on a charge. It's assault, you know, don't do it. You have to know, and some people are happy to be touched, some are not. So by having an understanding, it makes it a lot better, and you protect yourself. And I always recommend that if you do healing, you should really have some degree of insurance as well and work to a code of conduct. That's what I recommend as well. So hopefully that helps as well. Okay, next question. Oh, for some reason the questions just suddenly disappeared off my screen altogether then. Omar, from what I've seen of your work, it seems that if anyone can't join circles, sitting in the power will improve your mediumship also. Do you offer specific courses for this? I don't offer a specific course for people to do sitting in the power, but what I do have is a course. One of my courses is meditation and sitting for spirit, which was 4 classes. 4 classes, and each class had a meditation in. So within the first class, the meditation is the classic sitting for spirit, sitting in the power. The second one has a different meditation, which has got the same intent, but it's a completely different way of viewing it and coming at it. The third one is a meditation to meet your guides, and the fourth one is a meditation to spiritualize yourself. But I do teach all about how sitting in the power works. But in my experience, I would say that you cannot really just do mediumship from sitting in the power. Sitting in the power will help to build the power you need for mediumship, but you've got to do practice as well. You have to have practice as well. So that's the important thing to recognize. Some people think that if I just sit in the power every day, I'll be a fabulous medium, and that is not going to be the case. You have to do the practice of mediumship as well. There's the theory, understanding how mediumship works. There's the practice of putting it into practice. And there's the self-development where we sit in the power to build power. We make time to be with our spirit team. All of that as well helps it. So you've got three components. Any one component will, in isolation, will limit your development. So I hope that is clear. Debs, I can highly recommend Martin's online courses. Thank you, Debs. That's much appreciated. Jan Morris, I've taken your spiritual healing course. What will be the next steps to learn spiritual healing? The next step to learn spiritual healing is to get practice doing it. If you can join some form of healing group within a church or an online healing group, that would be helpful as well. But yeah, it's practicing it. You know, some people in certain areas, they cannot find spiritual healing, but they can find Reiki healing. Reiki healing is a little bit different in that you use symbols, but it's ultimately about attuning to a source, a God, a power. And so it's a little bit similar, but not the same. So you can check out other kinds of spiritual healing as well. And maybe, you know, I first trained as a Reiki healer, but all the healing I ever did after that was spiritual healing, because spiritual healing to me seemed so much more simplistic, so much more powerful. It worked so much better for me. And I didn't have to worry about trying to remember symbols and having to be attuned or anything like that. So for me, I love spiritual healing, the way it's taught within the spiritualist tradition. That's what works for me the most. Denise, how do you find practice circles online or in person? Good question. You know, if it's local, in person, you need to check out places that may offer them, or mediums locally that may offer them. Centers, spiritual shops, spiritualist churches, if you're lucky enough to have churches near you, organizations that offer them, mediums that may offer their own closed circles. But if not, then you're going online, and there are a multitude of circles online, absolutely loads. Join a few of the online mediumship Facebook groups, and they will point you in the direction of loads of them. I highly recommend Colleen Byram's Evidential Mediumship group. That is a very good group. I know Colleen well, and she runs a tight ship there, so that's one I recommend. But there are loads online. Just you've got to go and check them out, and then suck it and see. See if the teaching resonates with you. See if you get benefit from it. See if it helps move you forward. And if it doesn't, feel free to move on and check out other people. But there are loads, absolutely. And really, some people don't call them circles as well. So Carol, I'm in Canada and have never heard of circles around where I live. What do you suggest? Is there any one of your courses that includes the opportunity to practice with others online? Good question. So sometimes people may not offer circles, they may offer courses, they may offer progressive training schemes, they may offer mentorships. There's numerous different words that people have where they're effectively doing the same thing. So, yeah. You know, again, you need to ask, is there any form of mediumship training, mediumship practice opportunities? Certainly, if you cannot get it locally, then you can get lots online. Now, the online marketplace is full of online circles. There's loads of free online circles as well. I tend not to do a huge number of online circles personally. So none of my courses include online practice at the moment. All the courses I offer, the courses I brought up on screen, all of these are pre-recorded courses. What happens is I run a course once, we do a deep dive into it, I record it once, and then I offer it at a reasonable price. That's the plan. I will have some courses coming up. The next one that's coming up will probably start in July and will be all about spirit guides, getting to know and understand spirit guides, meditations to help you meet your guides, etc. That's going to be that one. And then we may do something on inspiration and trance after that. But yeah, so, and I did speak later in the year, my intent is to bring some more courses online with that do have practice opportunities, but they're going to be tailored courses with a focus. So then, as I said, you know, we may be looking at how to develop, say, the one I spoke about earlier, if developing your clairs further with exercise to develop the clairs, or maybe one's focused on platform mediumship, maybe one's focused upon how techniques to find direction versus throwing it out, how to get to your recipient as fast as possible, those kinds of things, how to deepen your evidence, exercises that will help you deepen your evidence, exercises that can help you get more from single pieces of evidence, those kind of things. So there'll be more what I call themed courses with practice opportunities, which primarily will all be aimed at people who are already able to do mediumship and want to deepen those aspects. So I hope that makes sense. And Melba, you're going to the college this fall. That's fabulous. Mom-wise, what does a tutor do? Is that just another word for teacher? Yeah, exactly. Teacher, tutor, call it what you will. Usually a tutor, a teacher will teach theory and practice and help you get opportunities. So I think Melbourne, I covered off your question as best I could, but let me know if I didn't. Christine, what courses do you recommend that are not included in your mediumship course? My husband Jeff and I have completed this fabulous course and are both ready for more. Thank you for all you do. It was the 12 classes on the theory of mediumship. So that would be the set of 12 videos, because I offer on the left-hand side mediumship classes 1 to 12 as a package. That is the, I think, what you're talking about. So if you're talking about my courses, then what happens with my courses is that when I developed all of these courses, we basically went deeper into a lot of different areas. So Confident Medium speaks for itself. It's all about confidence within mediumship and confidence in general. A lot of people I find who have confidence issues within mediumship have confidence issues in general. So with that one there, I brought my hypnotherapy and NLP experience to bring it in and hone it down. So that's highly beneficial if you're not good with confidence. Spiritual self-development, I'm really passionate about that. That for me, if all the work we do with our development does not spiritualize us and make it a better person, a more spiritual person, a more compassionate person, a more caring person, then we're really missing the point. So I love that course, Spiritual Self-Development. It's about connecting with the spirit aspect of self, your soul. Highly recommend that. Meditation, Sitting for Spirit, goes deeper into the meditation than I did in the class. Obviously, you've got one 2-hour class. You've got four 2-hour classes here, which just drills deeper. Fundamentals is practically the same as my videos. So Fundamentals is really just a course for those who don't purchase the videos. Getting Better Evidence drilled way deeper into evidence than I've ever done in all of the courses I offered. And we kind of talk about how you get different types of evidence through the different faculties. We talk about different approaches to evidence. There's a lot in that course. That course there is probably my most popular course, and it really does offer a lot. Similarly, the Better Platform Mediumship, Better Private Readings, again, it's 4 2-hour sessions going deeper than the one session within the set of 12. So, if you really want to get the most depth, I would recommend these courses here. The platform, all these ones here, this series will give you more depth, with the exception of if you want to learn more about healing, inspiration, trance, you'll get more of that from the modules of the study program, the special module in particular. The modules of the study program, they're basically the set of my videos combined with a tutorial which answers typically about 30 questions. And also I give suggestions for exercises for working with it. So there's probably most detail in the study program, but certain areas you get more detail than the study program in my courses. So I know it's a little bit confusing. It just is that way. That's all the way it's unfolded. I wish I could make it all simpler, but I can't. If you have any questions, drop me an email or a message, and I will do my best to help answer about what I offer. Hopefully that all makes sense. Okay, next question. Mom-wise, as someone who does automatic writing a medium, yes, if it's coming from the spirit world. You can do automatic writing from your own soul, and so that's not mediumship technically. So I can be inspired by that spiritual aspect of me that is Martin's soul. I can also be inspired by my creative mind, my imagination, and that's not mediumship neither. So for it to be mediumship, automatic writing or inspirational speaking has to come from the mind of a spirit person. So you have to be influenced by the spirit world. So hence it's a guide you're linking with, and the guide is inspiring you with thoughts. Hope that makes sense. Next question. I seem to not know something until someone asks me something, then I just know the answer. What is that? Now that is a very, very wide-ranging question. When we get information that we suddenly know something, where could it be coming from? You can be picking it up psychically from the person. It could be information you already know that's stored deep within your mind that you're recalling. It could be information you've subconsciously heard but forgotten and remembered. Information you've come across. It could be information you're taking psychically from the universe, from the collective conscious. It could be information you're getting from spirit, and it could be information you're getting from spirit world. So there are numerous ways in which you could get it. And there's no simple answer. It depends what the information was, how you got it, and we then need to try and look into what the likely mechanics of it are. But we can get information from a great number of sources. Often I just know things, and it's very hard to say specifically where did it come from? Where did it come from? You can be in tune with the infinite, in tune with the divine. You can get it, just pick it up from the collective conscious, from the universe, from the divine intelligence. Call it what you will. Or spirit, if you want to call it spirit, great spirit. So hopefully that helps. Mike, better understand your spiritual nature. I really like that. I love that expression too. Absolutely. Susan, you've said live classes. I'm not sure what that relates to. Will I be doing live classes? I will be restarting some live classes with the online courses. The next one will be starting in July, and it will be on, I don't know if it's going to be called Getting to Know Your Spirit Guides or Understanding Spirit Guides. Probably Understanding, because Getting to Know gives people the expectation that they will know their guides by the end of it. Whereas you're only going to get glimpses of understanding in general, if I'm honest. D, I've taken some of your classes, both live and recorded, would love a progressive circle. Well, watch this space. Hopefully that one will be coming. Mike, this is great stuff. Thank you so much. You're welcome, Mike. Do you think vegetarians are better able to learn mediumship than meat eaters? Now, at some stage in the future, I may do a class to try and answer all these myths on diet, on all sorts of things. Should you eat before you damn? Should you not? Does the food affect it? Does alcohol affect it? Does having a clean diet affect it? There are so many questions. So I might just do a special session where we go into that. And health, mediumship and health. How does mediumship affect health? So I think I'm going to run a special class on that one at some point in the future, because there's so many questions I get asked. But do I think vegetarians are better able to learn mediumship than meat eaters? No, I don't think it makes any difference, if I'm honest. I remember going to Stansted Hall, and someone was saying that their mediumship was fabulous since they went on a juice diet. And several of us all said, okay, well, let's try it when we get back. And I had a try, and, I couldn't cope with a juice diet at all. It would cause me all sorts of chaos. I would have terrible sugar rushes. I would feel really shaky and bad on it. It made me a very bad version of myself. Didn't help my mediumship at all. Whereas other people swore by it. So horses for courses. Your mileage may vary is basically the simple answer. So I don't know really is the answer. If you believe your mediumship will be better if you're a vegetarian, then it might be. Because the power of belief is a powerful thing, you see. When we come back to that course I ran, one of my courses on the confident medium, we talk about the power of belief. We talk about the power of positive thinking, the power of affirmations within that. And what you believe can become your reality. If you believe that you'll be a better medium if you stop eating meat, if you stop eating meat or fish, then you may become a better medium, but not because you stopped eating meat or fish, but because the power of your belief to create that for you. So the mind is a very, very, very powerful tool when it's harnessed in the right way. But I don't think so. The best mediums I know eat meat. So that's what I could say. Yeah, the best mediums I know eat meat and don't care. So I do care a bit, like for myself, say, for example, I always try to buy ethically sourced meat. I always try to look at the welfare of the meat. I don't eat huge amounts, but when I do eat meat, I try to find meat that's from a good source. When I say I don't care, I mean I don't care about what I do in my diet other than, I don't feel the need to be vegan, vegetarian. I eat fish, I eat meat. I love fish. I eat lots of fish, very healthy, oily fish. Get your omega-3s. Yeah. So hope that answers that question. D, any chance you would come to Canada, Alberta if you're invited by several spiritualist churches? Sadly not, D, no. I'm not a great traveller. I've also got several health conditions that make it kind of challenging for me to do long haul flights as well. So I'm not a great traveller, I'm afraid. So sorry about that, but the answers are no. So I tend to work just locally in the UK and online, obviously, which is much easier because I can reach everybody in the world through this platform. So it's a fabulous platform online, Zoom, YouTube, you name it. It really is. Okay. Mom-wise, how do you know if you're doing spiritual healing? Good question. Good question. Because I know a lot of people put their hands on people and don't get results. I think a lot of people don't get very good results, if I'm honest, because you have to fine-tune your healing. One of my videos, so the main one on spiritual healing is special topic 2, but in special topic 8, trance healing, I talk about that we have to be at different levels for different types of healing to take place. And you might want to have different people from the spirit world work with you with different skills. And I always ask spirit to move me to the level that needs moving. But if you always work from the same space, the same position, the healing may be limited. And some people, it's what we call magnetic healing. It's healing from you, not from the spirit world, because you haven't made a link with spirit and you're not letting the energy flow through you. You should feel a flow from the spirit world. And generally, most patients will feel a flow as well and will feel a lot of heat. But you can't rely upon what the patient says. You yourself should be able to feel the connection with spirit and feel the flow. That is, if you like, the acid test to know you're doing spiritual healing. But the results, of course, as well, if it helps people. I've done healing where we put our hands on someone who's got a problem with their back, their neck, and when we finish it, problem's gone, and they come see me 2-3 weeks later and say, wow, cured it, fixed it. But that's rare. Those things are rare. They really are. Mostly it's, again, with healing, it's progressive improvement. Don't expect a miracle. That's my point. But sometimes incredible jumps do happen. Sometimes incredible results happen. Stephanie, I've done a course with yourself. I highly recommend. What course do you advise for a stronger connection, keeping the link? Yeah, keeping the link is a challenge for most people. It really is. Now, I don't know which course you've done. But really, to understand about holding the link, keeping the link, really, the basis of that, I cover that off in some of my videos. Connecting to spirit is making the link. And with the mechanics, some of that is holding the link. It's also covered in study program, actually splits between modules 1 and 2. Actually, that topic falls in the middle of both. But in courses wise, it's pretty much under the fundamentals of mediumship. And that's where you'd find it. Perhaps a little bit of it in getting better evidence, but it's mainly the fundamentals. But I don't think there's any course that particularly addresses that as such. You've just got to recognize when you're not well connected and seek to reconnect. Sit in the power is a wonderful tool for learning to develop that connection. Hold that connection. When you drop that connection, reconnect. That's the key. It's a lot of it's discipline. But if you've also got to build the power. If you haven't got the power, you will just fall out. Most mediums, if this is the spirit world, let me try and draw you a quick diagram. So if that little line, if that's where we start from and that line is the spirit world, and this is vibration up the side, increasing frequency of vibration. Medium, we raise our energy. If we haven't got much power, we'll stay there for a little while, then just drop out. So, you can work with spirit for a little while and fall out. So some mediums or in and out of the power, and that's pretty normal. But when you start feeling yourself falling, you've got to get yourself back in. How do you get yourself back in the power? You invite spirit closer. How do you get yourself back in the power? If you feel you're dropping, you just go back over what you had got right and re-strengthen the link. You bring in spirit in closer. But yeah, you've got to just reconnect. Move your mind back there. If you're pulling out, you've got to move your mind back there. Not easy to teach that, to be honest, but hopefully that helps you in some way. So if you are enjoying it, don't forget to hit the like button. If you want to support the channel, do check out my website, my courses, classes, study program. If you want to donate to support the channel, buy me a coffee, you can do that through Super Chat, and you can also do that through PayPal Me. There is a PayPal link in the video description, and it's also pinned to the top of the chat. Okay, let's keep going. Next question. Jan, back to spiritual healing. I've read Harry Edwards' Guide to Spiritual Healing. Are there any other books you can recommend? I recommend Harry Edwards all day long. I love Harry Edwards. That is the books I read, recommend. There's not very many other books, good books on spiritual healing that I've come across, to be honest. It's not an area where there's many books written. Some people have said to me, could you write a book, Martin? I'm like, yeah, I could. But I'll tell you what, it wouldn't be a patch on Harry Edwards' book. And actually, most of what I teach is founded in Harry Edwards' teachings. So I would almost feel like I'm doing him a disservice because, it would be a lot of his teachings perhaps just varied for a modern audience and some more modern language. So that's the one I recommend for healing. I'm just trying to think of anything else on healing. I've got a little section on healing on the shelf behind me, which is why I'm looking at it. But there aren't that many books. And most of the books that are written, I'm written in a more of a new age way. And they're not really focusing upon what I call the true way of doing spirit healing. In the absence of Harry Edwards' books, what I would recommend is my own videos, Special Topic 2 and Special Topic 8. I think those go into more information than you probably find in a lot of books as well, if I'm honest. I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but it's probably true. And of course, they are a part of the special module of my study program, if that interests you as well. Special module on healing, inspiration, and trance, which covers guides and helpers working with spirit inspiration, spiritual healing, trance healing, and trance mediumship. So sorry I can't give you a recommendation there, Jan. I wish I could. Mom-wise, do tutors teach one-on-one or classes to their students? Most tutors teach classes. Most tutors take circles with groups in. The problem with mediumship is to do mediumship and teach mediumship, your students have to have people to work with. It's very hard to teach mediumship one-on-one. You can troubleshoot one-on-one. You can answer questions one-on-one. But it's very hard to teach mediumship one-on-one. People need to bounce off of each other. Melba, so I've just saw there as well, you posted SNU healing. Yes, that's another good point. The SNU has a whole bunch of healing courses. That's for if you want to become an SNU healer. So you can check those out. They cover the theory as well, albeit it's a little bit more expensive than buying a book because the courses, I think they cost a bit more. I forget how much they are these days, 40 or 50 pounds, something like that. So a little bit more expensive than books. Good idea, yeah. So yeah, mainly most tutors will teach groups because it's very hard. If I was teaching someone one-on-one, the only people they can link with is my own loved ones. That becomes limiting because if you've only got a limited number of people in spirit, then it's going to be a bit of a problem. And then what happens is people will remember the information they've got, and then they will be working from memory more than working in live in real time. So I personally do not do one-on-one teaching. I never have. I once did some one-on-one teaching mentoring, and what I found is most people are looking for shortcuts, and it's not really possible to get that shortcut. And most of the time I'd be recommending that they go back to the fundamentals within all my videos, my study program, and they get way more benefit than paying me direct to try and get the information because, if you pay me for an hour of my time, I can only give you an hour of information. Whereas if you're buying a course for almost the same price as a sitting or a mentorship session, you'd be getting 8 hours of teaching. I can't possibly cover that same amount in that short pace of time. So yeah, it's useful for troubleshooting, but not much beyond that, I'd say, personally, in my experience. D, the Confident Medium is a great course. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. I think that's a really powerful course. You know, bringing all my therapy knowledge and training in there. I think it's quite profound, that one. I like that one. It's one of the most requested courses I ever did on confidence. Now, Jane, you've got a question. Have you any tips on better see when blending with spirit? I'm not sure what you mean by your question, Jane. Can you just clarify what you mean? And I will come back to it in a second. Oh, better techniques. I've just spotted later on. Have you any tips on better techniques when blending with spirit? That's a huge open-ended question, because, you know, tips are hard to come by. You know, keep talking, get excited, get energized. You know, there's numerous different tips and techniques, but it depends on what level you're at as well. You know, keep reconnecting when you drop out, recognize when you're in the flow and when you're not. There's so many different aspects to it. So it really depends whether we're talking beginners, intermediates, advanced. You know, in terms of the techniques, I covered a lot of the techniques on working with spirit within getting better evidence course. That one I covered, you know, setting intent with spirit for things to get and types of evidence to get, and how we work and how we blend, how we surrender, or how we maybe do a question answer approach. There's all sorts of different things in there, and I go through all of that in great detail in that course. So it's a bit of a hard one, really, to say give any tips on better techniques when blending with spirit. Well, on my channel, there is a video on my channel. I forget the name now. There you go. That'll teach me, won't it? Basically, I think it's like how to do mediumship. And that kind of gives some key tips. You have to have a sitter in front of you. You know, all these really blatantly obvious things, but they are the tips for the beginners. I'll put a link to it in the description. And I do have a playlist, actually, a playlist for developing mediumship. You know, who can develop mediumship? How long does it take? Can you do it online? Can you do it by yourself? How to develop it, tips for developing it. And that's one of those videos in that playlist. So again, I'll pop that playlist as well in the chat, in the comments and in the description when I've finished this video, when I've edited it tomorrow. It'll be there. It might already be there from the last time, I don't know, but you can check it out. Mike, I've got substantial problems with siblings to the point that they really raise my eye even when I'm all alone. Does develop my mediumship help surmount this kind of problem? I'd love to give you the answer and say yes, it would. But it probably wouldn't. No. Developing mediumship by itself will give you the mechanics of how to connect to the spirit world. However, doing spiritual self-development would help you more with that. So that's the course I've got. Spiritual self-development is 4 sessions, 4 2-hour sessions. It's all about developing the spiritual aspect of you, that spiritual aspect of self. Now, for me, what are the spiritual qualities of the most? If you think about a spiritual person you know, and you think about the qualities they possess, generally you're going to say they're caring, compassionate, loving, kind, non-judgmental, patient, tolerant. They are all spiritual qualities that we want to seek to develop within ourselves. And how do you develop those qualities? Through hard work. Absolutely, through hard work. Yeah. Am I always patient? No. Am I always kind? I try to be. But at times I find thoughts coming in that are not kind and I have to park them. You know, someone's rude to you. You can respond by being rude back. Don't. Take the high road, step back, give it time. You know, maybe they've got problems in their life. Try and see through the lens of that they're struggling with life. You know, people may project stuff onto you that doesn't belong with you. Feel free to let it go. But again, recognize what it is. Try and be more spiritual. You know, people can be horrible to us. People can be cruel to us. But that doesn't mean we have to be bad to them. When people are nasty to us and we're really nice to them, they can't understand it. They really start scratching their head. They don't understand it. But a spiritual person develops that. And it's not easy. The best way to develop it is to connect that spiritual aspect of self, your soul. You know, I can either be connected to my ego that gets bruised. I can be connected to my ego that gets angered. Or I can connect to my soul that is the eternal part of me that has that deep patience, tolerance, if I choose to develop and unfold it. So that's what the spiritual self-development's all about. That would probably help you more. But developing mediumship by itself won't necessarily develop the spiritual side of self. That takes effort. It takes work. It's a lifetime's work. Every experience in life is an opportunity for you to develop self. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we are all work in progress. I hope to leave this journey of life when I go back to spirit a more spiritually developed person than when I arrived. That is my intent. Whether you develop mediumship or not, really, if we improve as a person spiritually and we help others, because being spiritual means helping others on their journey. Being spiritual means helping other people, giving service to other people. If I reach the end of my journey here and I can say I've helped people and I've also developed spiritual qualities and expressed them within this life, I'll be happy. Absolutely. Jen, do any of your courses include working within the dream realm? Sadly not. No, that's not an area that I work with. Not an area that excites me. So sadly not. Mike, true wisdom, Martin. Thank you. You're very welcome, Mike. You know, I would love to tell you, go buy that course and you will do this, that, and the other. And I can't do that. I'm too grounded for that. You know, the strapline of the channel, practical down-to-earth teachings on mediumship without the fluff. Yeah, I know some people who would say all sorts to sell their things, and I can never do that. I'm honest. But again, that's part of being spiritual, isn't it? Being honest, no, you know, not having an ulterior motive. I'd like to hope that what I create, what I offer helps people and does really help them move forward. And the testimonials tell me that it does. But I will never oversell. I don't believe in overselling. So yeah. Jan, thanks. I appreciate all you have to offer. That's very kind of you. Eighth house things. Do you have any advice for people who get a little scared when connecting to spirit? As soon as I get spooked, I instantly lose the connection. Absolutely. You do, don't you? If you find it a bit, whoa, what's going on here? Ah, whoosh, it will all fall over. So, first question I would ask is, what is there to be scared about? Where is the fear coming from? Because for me, there is nothing to be frightened of with the spirit world. I've never encountered an evil spirit. I've never encountered a bad spirit. I've never been hurt by spirit. I've been hurt by people in this life, absolutely. I've encountered people in this life who I might consider to be bad people or may do bad things to you, you know. But in the spirit world, we're protected from the spirit world naturally. You know, with mediumship, there's an unwritten rule that no one can come forward to connect you through mediumship who isn't there to offer help, who isn't there working for the right reasons, who isn't there working with love. You know, there are no bad spirits that affect us in this world if we're working from the right place with the right motivation, with the right intent. Now, if you decide to have a Ouija board session with your friends, you get hideously drunk and you say, come on, spirit, come and join us. Like attracts like, remember. People who might want to have a bit of fun with you may come forward and may spook you. That's probably going to happen because the intent you've brought to it is the wrong intent. The like attracts like. But if you're working from the right space, you don't need protection. I've got a video on my channel. Do mediums need protection? No, they don't. Do mediums need to close their chakras and hide from the spirit world when we're not working? No, not at all. So I do have a playlist on questions at misconceptions. Do we need to ground? Do we need to close our chakras? Do we need protection, etc.? So do check out that playlist. It's quite interesting. But quite simply, you do not need to be protected. I've never taught protection. I never do protection. And I've been fine. And I was trained at the Arthur Findlay College. No tutor there ever taught protection. Everyone who's been trained there is absolutely fine. So generally, when we get fearful, it's from our own issues. So we have to work to address them generally to resolve it. So just know, absolutely nothing can harm you. Know absolutely there's nothing to be frightened of. And with that knowledge, hopefully, getting spooked will become a less frequent occurrence or may not have to happen at all. So hopefully that answers that for you. Debbie, what a lovely thing to say about being spiritual in this life and you'll leave this life happy. Absolutely. Silver Birch, what I love the teachings of Silver Birch, who was the guide of Maurice Barbanel. And Silver Birch always said that service is the coin of the spirit. The service we give in this lifetime will make us wealthy in the spirit world, but not materially wealthy, spiritual wealthy. It will, most of all, it will have developed the soul, and developing the soul is the aim of the game. We're here to gain experience in life. We're here to develop as a soul because we are all eternal spirit here and now. And we're on a journey, and this is one fragment, one aspect of a much greater journey. So absolutely, we're here to learn, we're here to grow, we're here to develop spiritually, but most of all, we're here to help other people. Don't forget that. That will really help you. Yeah, Melba, we have to let go of the ego. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, next question. So can a professional medium keep working when they've lost a loved one and grieve, or should they take a break before making one-to-one sittings? It depends on the medium. It depends on the loved one. It depends how the loss affects you. There are no hard and fast rules. I know professional mediums who've lost close loved ones to them, like say mum or dad, and maybe they pull back from working for a week or two and then go back to it. But I know other people who've lost, say, a partner, wife or husband, where that may impact your work for a year. There's no hard and fast rules here, but we do have to give ourselves the space to grieve, for sure. We need to recognize when the stress, mental, emotional, is so profound that it can affect our work. You can try working through it and see how you get on. But if it's not working for you, then it probably would be wise to step back. I always think you should give yourself a little bit of time. Be kind to yourself. Don't put yourself under too much pressure. But each person will have to decide for themselves. And it's not just the loss of a loved one. Other very traumatic, stressful experiences in your life can affect your mediumship. I know that on a Friday, my home was flooded and in complete and utter chaos. I lost so much stuff. A lot of my furniture was out in the garden, and I'd lost a lot of personal things like photographs that were beyond redemption. And on the Sunday, I was booked to serve a church, and you don't let spirit down. And I went and I served the church, and I found that when I was doing an address, I got profoundly emotional. I've never done that in an address before or since. And it was the stress I was under because of what was going on. And I'm not giving myself the space to work with that stress. And, you go along, you do an address and you talk about, I've just been flooded. And you talk about trying to, there's people worse off than me and all the rest of it. You try and see the spiritual side of it. But of course, when you start talking about losing photographs of your nearest and dearest, losing lots of family photographs, and a lot of that stuff is irreplaceable, and it affects, and the stress of it all as well affects you. You've got to be careful. You've got to recognize when the stress is becoming too much, that you may need a break, or you may need to pull back a little bit within your work. You may need to, and it's not, so there are all sorts of things that cause stress in our lives. Family issues, property issues, work issues, all sorts of things can affect you. And yeah, be kind to yourself, as well as being kind to others. Absolutely. So that's 8 house things. That's really great advice to think about. I'll check out your playlist. I love watching your videos. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Tyrone, thank you for the great evening. How's your book coming along? And is it about medium development or like a biography? It's about developing mediumship. It's kind of feel like it's almost like a companion book to a lot of my courses. It is coming along, but it's still work in progress, and it's going to be late in the year, I hope. So Glyn Edwards. I remember Glyn Edwards said it took him 10 years to write his first book. I'm hoping mine's not going to take 10 years, but I understand why now. It is a slow process. I find it much easier to talk in front of a camera than I do to get down and write. It's, maybe I'm not a natural writer, who knows? But it's coming along. Yes, thank you. Melissa, hello. Fairly new to my journey. Seeing a lot of talk on social platforms about Akashic records. Do you have any videos on the subject for a beginner? I don't, I'm afraid. And I don't do Akashic records. It seems to be a very American thing. In the UK, I've never heard any teacher talk about the Akashic records in the places I've been. Maybe they do now, but certainly in my own development, it wasn't something discussed. And I don't even know what the Akashic records are myself. And I've never had an Akashic records reading, so I don't really know how any of it works. So I couldn't teach about it if I tried, because I know nothing about it. And there's a lot of fluff about it in my experience. Those kind of areas, there's a huge amount of fluff, and there's a huge amount of BS goes on, and I'm just down to earth. I teach mediumship. That's what excites me. Connecting to the Akashic records. I don't do past life readings. I don't necessarily believe that we have past earthly lives. The Silver Birch said that he'd met very few people who had come to the earth twice, suggesting past lives are very, very rare. In one of my tutorials I can't remember which one it is now. And one of the tutorials in my study program, I can't remember off the top of my head whether it's spiritual development or guides and helpers tutorial. I went through all sorts of different mechanisms that can exist for past lives and why it's almost impossible for us to prove a past life. So, yeah. And what I feel as well with things like the Akashic records, a lot of that is just working psychically. The psychic information you could just do anyway. But where's it coming from? That's a question we've got to ask ourselves. I don't believe you can go and read the Akashic records easily. At least I've not encountered anybody I know who does that in the UK. Maybe it's a thing somewhere else, but hey. So it's not part of my experience. It's not part of what I'm about. So I would never teach it, I'm afraid. So sorry about that. And the thing is, all we can talk about is our own understanding, our own experience. I've been taught by many, many different tutors, and I know many different approaches. And I don't just teach a one way fits everybody, because that's too limiting. I teach as many different ways as I can to help as many different people as I can. But most of my own knowledge and understanding is grounded in teachings I've received from tutors at the Arthur Findlay College predominantly, as well as some other people. Colin Fry helped me a great deal in my early days with a lot of teaching. He's an excellent teacher, even though he's more well known for Sixth Sense and being a theatre medium and on TV. But he was an excellent teacher, very good basis of teachings he gave, plus a few others outside of the Arthur Findlay College. But a lot of it is grounded in just what I would call solid, down-to-earth teachings. And of course, a lot of the teachings are good people like Gordon Higginson as well. A lot of the great mediums of the past who I'm very passionate about. I love their teachings and their understanding as well. So that's where most of my background comes from. I'm not prone to flights of fancy. I don't do angels. I don't do ascended masters. I don't do fairies and things. So yeah, that's where I am. So that's why we say down-to-earth teachings on mediumship without the fluff. There's plenty of other channels who do all of that, so feel free to check them out if that's what draws you. Just don't expect it on this channel. Okay, Tyrone. My 10-year-old daughter's seen a man made out of light in her bedroom. I tried to show it was nothing to be scared of, but how can I ask spirit to leave her in peace until she's a little older? The problem you have is children can naturally see spirit. It's as we get older that ability will disappear. Children often have spirit friends. So, the key thing is not to create fear within the child that it's anything to be fearful of. That's the most important point, I think. Should you deny it exists? No, I don't think you should. But also not making too big a deal of it is good as well. But just let her know there's nothing to be frightened of. Nothing can harm you from the spirit world, like I said earlier. That's what I'd recommend we say. So, but it's more than likely it would be a loved one coming close. Who comes close to you? It's your loved ones. You know, if she's got someone in the spirit world who belongs to you, a gentleman in the spirit world, it's more than likely it's them coming close to be close to family. You know, we say, spirit, don't bother me. But it's actually our own loved ones who are coming close. It's our own parents, grandparents, friends, family. We don't want to deny them. You know, quite often people will say that, oh, you know, what an old lady, someone contacted me, a carer, that this old lady was being bothered by a spirit. Could I come round and have a look? And I went round and I sat down with her and I connected to her husband. It was her husband. I wanted to be close to her. But not only that, there was some issues going on with her care, that she wasn't being looked after. And her husband actually came and held her hand, and she felt spirit touch her. And she was like really freaked and upset by it. And it was her husband. And when I explained all the evidence that this is who it is, she said, that's my husband. And she was completely relaxed after that, that actually it was comforting to know her husband was close. And the message was all about trying to get her care sorted out, because she didn't have enough of it. And he was caring about her because he cared, like you do. So, you know, and the other problem is children have very vivid imaginations as well. So second part, she won't sleep with the light off anymore. Often talks about hearing laughter and stuff when everyone is asleep. I say they're only looking out for you. Yeah, you can only do your best. But children have very vivid imaginations, and they can take things and extrapolate them a lot with their imagination, and it's very hard. But are the experiences real? No one really knows. That's the problem you've got. You know, children see imaginary friends. We can all, to some degree, create things with our minds, and it's very hard to separate the reality. You know, you can ask spirit, please leave my daughter in peace. If it's a spirit world, they will. Why would they not listen to that? If it's spirit, if it's family, friends, they would do that. Spirit normally responds to what we ask for. But if it continues, and it's more likely her own fears, insecurities, imagination, etc. It's very hard to say for definite, really, without knowing. But yeah, it's not. I understand though, it's not easy for you, absolutely. But the best thing to do is not to make a deal of it such that it's a fearful thing. That's the thing to avoid. You know, it's natural. It's fine. Accept it. And try and distract her. Distraction, to think of other things and move on to other things. And maybe that will help as well. But I think sometimes if you make a big deal of it, it will magnify it. When children get a response from us when they say things, then they will keep going with it because, getting a response. So try not to make a big deal of it as well, because possibly the answer, I don't know. I'm no expert in this field. So I think that's the end of the questions that I can see there. It normally runs for an hour and a half, and we've been going for an hour and 25 minutes, so that's pretty good. So if you've enjoyed it, don't forget to like it. If you've not subscribed to the channel, please do so. You'll get notifications of my videos, new videos. You can also subscribe to my newsletter if you want a reminder of when this has taken place. I normally ping out a newsletter the day before to let people know that it's on. I also, when I'm running courses, you'll get notification of all of that as well. So there is a link to sign up to my mailing list in the description and the comments as well. Or at least I'll put one in the comments as well. So thank you to everyone for coming. Thank you for all the great questions. It's much appreciated. If you have enjoyed it and you want to say thanks, you can always make a PayPal me donation. You see there's a link in the description and comments as well, and at the top. And also do check out my website. Check out what I offer. Check out the courses, classes, videos, audios, study program. See what takes your fancy. If any of those, go for it. So thank you everyone for coming. Much appreciated. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye for now.